And in Heels is a motivational, inspirational, and educational podcast for women entrepreneurs. Let's learn from each other, laugh with each other, and support each other so we can all succeed together. And just remember, women can do anything, and in heels. Welcome to And in Heels. Today, our guest is Janice Shokrian. Yes? Said it right? Okay.
You did.
Janice is the founder of Tausi Brands and CEO. She is also, and I love these things about you, a patented inventor, a speaker, host of her own Market Live on HSN, and producer of a new streaming show for caregivers. Oh my gosh, welcome, Janice. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome,
Janice.
Thank you. Hi, Morgan and Kelly.
Hello.
It's so good to see you.
Yes, we're so glad you're here. So, Janice, we've had the opportunity to work together on a few projects and get to know each other, and so impressed by your resume of things that you do and who you are. So tell us a little bit about you and your latest invention and company.
Well, I guess the way I would describe myself would be either like do you remember Mexican jumping beans when you were little?
Yes.
Morgan, I don't think you probably know what they are, but they were a thing in the 80s where like it was a weighted bean that would just like flop around and could kind of like bounce around. And I always felt like that in my career. So my career looks like I've done a lot of different things. But my through line was that I had goals for myself and I would just jump around any place I could go in order to be able to achieve my goals. Wow. And so where I am now is when I finally jumped off any kind of corporate platform and dove into inventing, and which is something I've always done in my whole life, but it was really personal. And I invented my product called Tausi Brands for my dad, who was in a care community, slumped over in that geriatric chair. And we can all envision what that looks like when somebody falls asleep and they look uncomfortable. And I thought, I can't do anything for his end of life experience, but I want to help him be comfortable. So I invented a product that can strap to a chair, hold his head and neck in place, and give him dignified support.
Wow. So your pillow was out of the need to solve this uncomfortableness you saw your dad going through. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think everyone deserves to be comfortable. That's kind of my tagline. I don't think we have to buy a million things, but Tausi is a pillowcase that transforms your pillow into a head and neck back support system. And I'm like, you're going to love it. That's like
I
love
it.
Like,
I've actually used it before, and it is amazing. I had the pleasure of using it to support my laptop on my lap, and it was amazing. It was a great resource for what I needed, but I can imagine how many uses that you can use for it. It's amazing.
So you were sitting in a chair and used it for your laptop. Yep. Imagine, so you have your laptop way down on your legs and it's tilting and leaning and you're looking down and you're hunched over. But when you used your pillow, it brought it up so you could sit comfortably. That's really cool. People on airplanes, I would think, or in the airport or traveling, that would be a great resource for that, Janice.
Exactly. Laptop or traveling just goes behind your head and neck. I'll do a demo. Boom.
I love that.
Comfortable.
Cute. I love it. And comes in different colors, I noticed, because you have blue there, but we saw it in tan and gray.
All right behind me.
Love. What an amazing thing, though, to invent a product. Like, how many times have we said, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we had that or we could do that? But how many people stop and really invent it? I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment.
Well, thank you. You know, I actually went around and I did focus groups. I pulled people together to tell me why it would not work and why I should not put the money and time and resources.
Tried to talk yourself out of it?
Pretty much. And I kept, they kept getting the same reaction, like, oh, this is comfortable. Oh, this is good. Everybody has the same reaction. Oh, I get it. And once I've yet to hear that internal, like, oh, like Morgan, you figured it out too. Like when you tried it for lumbar support, which I have it now, a pillow in it, or you too, Kelly, like if it's a pillow in or not in, because every Tausi comes with a mini bonus pillow and it's a different experience without having it in. I'm a pillow in person. So
love that. Love that. Well, your creativity and just inventiveness on that is amazing.
Oh,
Oh,
thanks.
Janice, I know, we got to speak ahead of time. Well, I've gotten to know you over the last couple months and so impressed by just your visionary approach to your company and all of the things that you do and you are. And you've really had some experiences to get you to this point. And, again, we all have a journey, but we're not alone. Would you like to share a little bit about your journey to where you are today and kind of what you've had to endure to get there?
Well, absolutely. I think that's the thing with women. We have to present ourselves so buttoned up all the time,
So true.
and yet we shoulder a lot in our lives. And particularly if you want to have a family, if you want to, you have
Mhm.
women are society and women also are judging each other, which is really tricky for me.
Yes,
It's like,
it
do you
is.
bottle feed? Do you breastfeed?
Mhm.
Did you make your own baby food, or did you, or do you buy the jars?
We were
And
just having this debate about diapers last night at
Yeah.
dinner. Like, why is it taboo now to use disposable diapers? Like, why is everybody trying to go back to these,
The
reusable
reusable.
diapers? And I'm like, ooh, there's a lot of
Mhm.
sanitary things about that I don't think people thought
Yeah.
about.
right. And for me, like we did cloth diapers with my first and disposables with my second, because my first has really sensitive skin issues.
Sure.
So I think where I got into my journey was really trying to I've always been ambitious, but I've always felt like I needed to do it all,
Oh.
and I needed to show up
Mhm.
perfectly all the time. So I
Oh,
had to be the room mother. I had to be
be real, not
the
perfect.
parent club president. I
Right.
had to be running, being on my mayor's advisory board. I had to, if I'm going to run a trade association, and
Mhm.
I was challenged to pass a law, historical law in the state of Oregon that's never been done in a short session, and I did it. And it's just like I've always felt like I had to prove myself.
Oh, that's
And
so key. Yeah.
when I was bullied out of my last position from my board, um, it was really demoralizing for me, because I thought
Mhm.
I'm doing so much. I'm working 100-hour work weeks. I'm working weekends. I'm
Wow.
working evenings. I'm going into work at 7 a.m. and then I'm doing events at night until 11 o'clock at night. I'm doing fundraisers for our legislators and mayors, because they're the ones who affect the vote. I'm working with the mayor in
Wow.
Portland. I'm
Mhm.
working, so I am schmoozing and working.
Right.
I grew 3 streams of revenue. I'm like, what is it that I had to do? And it was like, I was not, quote unquote, from the industry. I came in through the industry in a different way. And some board members didn't love that about me. And I could, it was, it was the most gaslighting experience I've ever had. And when I left, my coworker also left at the same time, and people around my board, some board members quit at the same time, because they were just so upset about what was going on. But it was in that deep, dark despair that I was
Mhm.
in, um, that I didn't know where to turn. I was
Mhm.
wanting to hide under a rock. I didn't
Yeah.
feel confident anymore, and it was it, it's something that just didn't it was a clothes that didn't fit on me, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, I'm pretty confident, and I had
Yep.
no confidence.
Mhm.
And it was in that
Oh.
phase that I visited my dad, when I was
Oh.
feeling really vulnerable, and I saw him asleep and saw him vulnerable. And all I wanted to do was curl up with pillows.
Right.
And that's really my, like, from vulnerability to vulnerability, how Tausi was born.
Wow, what a
Mhm.
great story. So it was
That is
like,
amazing.
in this moment of darkness, you go to visit your dad for some comfort or some reassurance or, some familiarity. And then you realize, wow, he's uncomfortable in a different way and I can potentially solve it. Like, what an incredible way to shift your mind,
Mhm.
and to get you to think about something that had you been happy where you were at, you probably may never have thought of.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%.
Wow.
And it gave
Mhm.
me hope. I had no hope. I was dark. It was, they
Yeah.
tried to sue me. They accused me
Wow.
of
Oh,
stealing money.
wow.
Because
I
you
was
wouldn't do it
harassed
their
by the
way. Is that what
police.
this it was just you just wouldn't do what they wanted you to do or do it their way because it was either morally, ethically, legally wrong, whatever your reasons. And they were going to try to force you and you just finally said no.
there some of them were from kind of like that Weinstein camp, where it's like,
Oh.
you can intimidate somebody, be like, you'll never work in the business again. And I was always like, I don't care. I'm gonna
At
do
this
what's
point,
right.
that may be okay, right?
But
Right?
I'm always like, I'm going to do what's right for the organization. I'm going to do what's proper for the following the federal laws of a nonprofit. I'm going to follow, So
Yeah.
I never would cross those lines, and
Yeah.
being asked to cross those lines and me saying no was to a group of people who are not accustomed to anybody saying no, because in production, you don't say no, you say, I'll figure it out. How can I do that?
Yep.
And here I come in with my nonprofit experience of 20 years saying, sorry,
No.
that doesn't work.
You know what I hear happening though, and I think in your situation, Janice, this fits perfectly with this, is when you're on the wrong path, sometimes, whether you believe in God or the universe or guardian angels, whomever you want to believe in, there's that spiritual guidance that says, this isn't really where you're meant to fulfill your life's purpose. I need to redirect you. And if you don't hear the whisper and you don't hear the knock and you get the brick wall, it's because you were on the wrong path, and you had a purpose you were supposed to serve, or a mission in life you were supposed to serve, and you just couldn't do it from there. And they needed to get you away from that. So for whatever reason, it's in those darkest moments, I think sometimes we find our real purpose.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And here's like, my career path has been senior independent living and the arts. How do you marry those together?
Well, you have found a way, I think.
And it's like with Tausi, with Caregiving Worldwide,
Right.
you and I are involved in that new TV network for caregivers.
Yes.
What a marriage, right?
What a marriage.
And that now I make sense. It makes
Well,
sense
and
before.
isn't it amazing how you were able? So yeah, on here, you're the producer of the Safe and Sound show.
Correct.
And the Caregiving Worldwide Network, and that connecting those dots for you pulled together two very unlikely professions and skill sets, and it was like the perfect match for you. It was meant to happen. But had you still been involved in this nonprofit in that world, you may have never gotten those connections. So
Never.
isn't that just amazing? How our journey can just sometimes be our guide to where we needed to go, even though we have no idea where we're going.
100%. And I think we grow most in our discomfort.
Oh,
and,
boy.
Man, did I not want to be uncomfortable? And that's why I'm like, everyone deserves to be comfortable. I really avoid discomfort like the plague.
Which is why you invented a comfortable pillow.
I know. And it's even not a pillow. It's a pillowcase. So it's, it's a tool. And that's, I think, it's really, gosh, the aspects of my career, I've hit a lot of different walls because I was always the ambitious younger one, and I had bosses that were just a little bit older than me, and I'd be like wanting more. So I would just, I finally feel like I'm in my shoes, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Isn't that an amazing feeling?
Or in my heels, I should say.
In your heels, because women can do anything and in heels, Janice. And you go tell those bullies at that nonprofit that. So you obviously had this inspiration by, seeing what your dad was, just sitting there uncomfortably and how you could potentially help that. But, what's been your motivation to keep going? Because I think sometimes for me, it's those days where you wake up and go, I just don't want to. I just don't want to anymore. I don't want to learn. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to try. Like, I just don't want to. And then at some point you wake up and realize, well, that's really not an option. But what gets you through those times? What gets you through those moments?
What a good question. When I have a lot of customers who send me photos of people using Tausi. They bought it for their mom who has a broken neck. They bought it for their friend who has multiple sclerosis. They bought it for their partner who travels all the time and needs something in the plane. They send me these pictures, and one mom sent me a picture of her 15-year-old son in his oncology chair having chemotherapy.
Oh, wow.
And those photos get me. That brings me, I struggle all the time. I'm like, I put so much money and time and into this product, and I'm just like, do people even care about a pillowcase? Do they care about being comfortable? Are we such a consumer country where you want to buy single use products for yourself, for a lumbar support, one for neck support, one for back, one for travel. So you've got now 3 different products, and then you have to buy the hotel pillows that you never even try, and then you stuff your closet with all these pillows. And I'm like, and I created something that's one product and that you can use multiple ways. As Morgan said, she put her laptop on it, had no tech neck. That not having that sight line is way better for your neck. So I see a picture of that child who should not have cancer, and he has his mask on, his earphones on, and his Tausi. And that does it for me. I keep those pictures up. Those are my inspiration. And I'm like, you know what? If I don't have anything tomorrow, if Tausi goes away and doesn't continue to grow as it's slow but steady getting out there, it's hitting the right people.
Yeah. And Janice, something you said during that really struck me. And my t-shirt yesterday may have been more appropriate for that conversation, but I can't keep changing t-shirts. But the one I had on yesterday was Remember Your Why. And what you just described, it's your why that motivates you and keeps you going, right? It's that seeing that not only were you able to make your dad more comfortable, but now you can make everybody more comfortable, and especially those that are vulnerable or need some special attention or care right now. I mean, that is so fulfilling, and that would make it worth the daily battles of learning and feeling like you're running in mud and all of those things. So I love that.
Because I do. I'm in mud all the time.
I always tell everybody, do you ever feel like you're running in mud? That's where I'm at today.
So yeah, I think when you start, like you starting a podcast, you're starting something to help inspire other women and make a community. I think it's beautiful when women can support women and create that culture of caring and that culture of support. Facebook started, let's remember, Facebook started as judging women's looks.
Boy, did it. That movie was incredible, by the way, if you've ever seen that story. Yes.
And I think we've had enough of that.
Yeah.
We hold up half the sky. Why don't we hold up each other?
And banding together is where our power comes from. Don't you feel like? Like it's that banding together, because I feel like, and I think the one thing that gets in our way all the time is competition. We feel like we have to compete, and we feel like, well, if I win, you can't win. But that's not true. We can all win. And I'm not being Pollyanna here. I'm not saying, but the idea of monopolies, or one person that has to hold all the coins while another has half a coin, there's no justice in that. And there's really no benefit to that. Think if we all held 100 coins, instead of one person holding 10 million coins, how much better we would be as a society and together. And I think women are more willing to adopt that mentality, because I think men by nature are a little more competitive sometimes. I'm not saying women can't be competitive, because of course we are. This one here, we don't want to ever play cards with, because she's the most competitive card game player, but we laugh in the end. But competitiveness, I think, is innate in most personalities. But I think as women, we have the ability to go beyond that and to say we can collaborate. And when we collaborate and we become a team, we are invincible. Hold my heels and watch this.
Or even running those heels,
You
as
got
you
that.
talk about, you're 100% right. And what you said is so spot on, Kelly. And Morgan, I challenge you to a card game. I am very
Next time you're in Florida, we're gonna see that happen.
Exactly. We talk about women. We do have a nature within us, because we give birth to the world, and we
take care of the world, right? Like we take care, we give birth, we do all the things. Yes,
exactly. And when you bring life in, you want to see life thrive. And so I think we would not make choices to send people to war as lightly as some other people do. we value that life. And I was just reading an article in Portland about the fentanyl crisis, which concerns me, of course. And
it's
there
happening
is,
all over. It's happening all
I
over.
know.
But
And there's a new program out here which really encouraged me, where they're having such a great success rate because
Nice.
they have brought a home for women. 8 women live in this home. They share childcare. They take care of each other's kids, and they're encouraging each other to get off fentanyl and off drugs. And so far their program is super successful, and they're going to buy another house to add another house, and it's for
Nice.
women and children, and that encourages me.
But there's so many pieces to that conversation and that project that resonate with even what we're talking about for a different perspective, but community, collaboration, support, empathy and understanding.
Exactly.
Empathy and understand, like, let's not pretend that we didn't have a child throw up on our outfit that morning. Let's not have to pretend that we don't have to go that afternoon to a soccer game because it's my privilege and right as a mother. I'm not going to apologize for that. Let's not be sad that we're going to take a day to go to the zoo with my 5-year-old because that memory is going to stick with that 5-year-old forever. Me being at work today in 20 years isn't going to matter to anybody. And those are the moments we have got to start giving ourselves permission to be everything that we want to be because we want to do it, not because we have to.
Correct. Absolutely. Preach.
I'm done. But, and that is where I think this community can come into play and say, it's okay to be a mom and to be a business owner and to be a successful CEO and an inventor. But it's okay to be all the things that we've been trying to hide or act like we don't have to be because our job is the most important thing. No, life is the most important thing.
Right. I have to say, I have always admired the European mindset. Like when I was out to dinner with, I have a good friend who lives in Nice, and we went to dinner with a bunch of friends and this one guy, Italian and speaks French and Italian and English perfectly. And me and my broken
I want to
French
have dinner with him.
right. And so we're just, and I just met him. And so what do we do in America? We say, what do you do? And I've never asked this question. What do you do? He said, in Europe, we never ask that question. And he said, because we want to say, what do you like?
That gave me goosebumps.
Right. And I was like, he's like, you're all about how do you make money? How can I judge you for what you're doing? He goes, I'm a janitor. And he goes, but I like art. And my friend's partner is a wonderful artist. And so that's how he was in the mix, because he appreciates art. And I was like, you're absolutely right. In America, we say, what do you do? I'm an inventor. I'm a this, I'm a that.
It's all about almost like feeding the ego, because you think if you ask somebody that, they're going to ask you back. It's almost like feeding that ego thing to where to his point, it's, who are you as a person? And what an incredibly powerful way to get to know someone.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to remember that. Because we were just having a conversation about networking versus friend working versus building relationships, and how there's this renaissance period going on where networking is almost becoming taboo in its true sense of what it was meant to do, right? Go shake some hands, meet some people, do some business. But really what we want is that relationship, that connection with the person, because my job isn't to see what I can get to sell you, right? My job is to say, how do I get to know you so I can support you and serve you in some way? Because I know the more I give, the more I'm going to get back tenfold. And when we start to think that way, relationships are where it's at. And that question he asked you starts a relationship, not a judgmental session of or comparing what I have over you, because does it really matter?
Or where you fall into how it serves me.
The hierarchy, Well, yes, I know the hierarchy that some people live by. I came from a very humble background. And my mom, single mom, raised 4 kids, did a fabulous job of it, but we didn't have a lot at times. And the circumstances to where we got to that point obviously didn't lend itself to a vast a pile of money anywhere. So we lived very humbly, happy, but humbly. My mom would take us on Saturday adventures, and she would make sandwiches, and we would go places that were free because that's what we could do. But she made sure there was an experience in it. And
Oh,
she always taught me from those humble days. And my childhood was I was happy. I didn't know any better. Like, I thought everybody went on Saturday adventures. And I'm like, you mean you didn't do that? Like, my mom would pack a lunch because we couldn't afford to buy McDonald's. She would pack a lunch and we would go do things, and she would find free things to go do. But we thought it was just an adventure. We didn't know why she was packing a lunch and why we went here. We just knew it was an amazing day together. And I think,
right.
as we judge people, it goes back to the saying, money doesn't make you happy. And yes, it pays your bills and it may make your life more comfortable. But those types of experiences didn't come because we had money, because we didn't. It was because we found a way to be together and to make it a fun, engaging experience. And I think that's where we need to get back to, those types of thoughts and relationships.
I 100% agree. And I have to tell you, we had my adult kids move in with us. My son was in college, and he finished college during COVID. So he missed college experience, which made me sad. But my eldest and their partner, they actually moved in with us in 2019 to save money they wanted to build a tiny house. And
I
so
love
we
tiny
had all 5 of us at home. We had those evenings where we sit around the table for 3 hours, and I absolutely adored I enjoyed
Yeah.
this time that we had during COVID, while the rest of the world was really suffering. Our family was really bonding, and we just had those moments when you talk about those inexpensive, like, no, we're not spending money. We played games. We
Yes.
laughed. We really
Made
just
food
lingered,
together,
and
like did the things we should have been
yeah.
doing. Yes.
It was to me, it was really, it was a time that I know we would most likely not get again. And I really appreciated the bonus years I had with years.
Yeah.
It was years
It was
involved.
years. You're right. We kept saying it's going to be months, and no, it was years. Like, if we only knew what we were getting into. But Janice, to that point, the only thing I want to say about COVID in that scenario is, minus the death and destruction that it caused,
Correct.
and I am acknowledging that. Like, that's
Yes.
horrible. But
Awful.
when you look at that approach and what it did for families, I think it almost took us back in time a little bit to say, hey, let's look at what's really important and how we really should be living our lives. And a lot of opportunity came out of COVID at the same time. But I think there was also opportunity to reconnect and to realize how we could live if we didn't get to be these world travelers and these out buying all the things and doing all the things. Like, you just had to go home and be for a little bit. And there's something very empowering about that. There really was. And I hope, as your experience did, it showed some of us that there's a whole nother life out there that we've been missing because we haven't had time. And it's really the one that mattered.
100%. And yes, COVID was awful. And it killed.
Absolutely.
But when we looked at all of our adversity that we've had in our world, in our cultures, in our history, we really do find the silver lining in everything.
Yes.
Like, we call World War II
Yes.
people the greatest generation, when they were the ones who had the wars to end all wars and had atrocities that were just so inhumane, but they were the greatest generation. It's like, because their resiliency, their willingness to say, like, wow, we don't want anybody else to suffer this kind of devastation again. Like, if you watched Oppenheimer, those movies, like, we got to learn how to be kinder to each other and to treat each other just
Amen.
more lovingly.
And we're going to start that with And in Heels in this women's community, because we're going to start sharing these stories. We're going to start uplifting each other and saying we no longer have to compete. None of us have to compete. There is enough business and opportunity out there for all of us. And the more we work together, the more of that we're going to uncover. Now, Janice, we're wrapping up here. We're getting to the end, but share with our audience today. We always have to learn to be better, right? Lifelong learners. And what do you learn? How do you educate? How do you stay informed or educated about, your industry, the world around you? How do you keep becoming better every day?
Oh, that's a good question. I really read a lot. That's
I
kind of,
love reading.
and I meet people that are what I would say
Mm.
is higher than me. I talk with people who've been there, done that, and I ask them what they read. Um,
Oh.
and so I, truthfully, it's been the last 2 months. I've not had any time to pick up a book because I've just been really busy.
Yeah.
So staying informed is something that I've slipped back on. Someone sent me a picture of a senator that they happened to run into at a rest stop, and I had no idea who it was in a hoodie.
Right.
I'm like, they need to be in a coat. Um, I just I am trying to just I feel like a duck on a pond, and I'm scrambling to try to learn from other people. Learn how to
Mhm.
do podcasts. I'm getting into this HSN thing. I'm having to learn how to
I
create my
bet.
own studio and learn how to do video production
I love
in
that.
my on my own. So
Love that.
it's a lot, and I think women. I appreciate what you're doing because I'm going to look through. I've watched a few of your podcasts, but even more because there's so many people out there that I can glean from and elevate women. It's been my goal. It's kind of like Oprah, like you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I'm
We
like,
all get a
nope,
car. Yay.
I see you, I see you, I see you. I want to work with you, and that's how I
Yeah. And
feel.
imagine being able to say to
Mhm.
someone, I'm going to give you not a better life, meaning monetary, but a better life, meaning one that you can live with quality. And if we as women can do that for those around us and each
Mhm.
other, now we've accomplished something. So, Janice, we have to wrap up, but what is that nugget? What's that one piece of advice, if you could share with all those business owners out there thinking about inventing a product or starting a company or
Mhm.
leaving a job that's asking them to do something that they know is deep down inside wrong? What would you say to those women today?
Believe in yourself.
Oh,
Listen to your
mm-mm-mm.
listen to your heart. Believe in yourself. I am somebody who, you talked about spirituality. I'm definitely a very spiritual person. I lean into what feels right and keep going towards what feels good. And every time I leaned into that, it just doors kept opening up for me. And so
Love that.
there was still that ember that wanted to be nurtured. And so
Getting
fanning
back to
that
that.
ember
Love
to
that.
believe in
Mhm.
yourself.
I love that. Never let that ember die. Never let that die because, Janice, that's what makes
No.
you just shine bright. And I love that about you. Thank you for being And on Heels, Janice. And remember, women can
Thank,
do anything and in heels.
Thank you,
and
Thank you for
Janice.
today.
thank you.
Thank
Bye,
See
you.
you soon.
ladies.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And just remember, women can do anything and in heels.